This is just a few seconds of the nearly 12-minute one-shot action sequence that concludes the first act of Extraction, a 2020 action thriller released straight to Netflix starring the God of Thunder from Down Under himself, Chris Hemsworth. But before we geek out over this together, let's back up a minute to before I even saw the film. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't expecting much when I sat down to watch Extraction. The poster image wasn't too compelling, the plot synopsis seemed prototypical, though it did promise strong bloody violence throughout, and as a red-blooded American male, I am therefore constitutionally required to give it a gander. The story follows Tyler Rake, a black market mercenary with a tragic past. He's recruited to rescue the kidnapped son of an Indian drug lord from a rival drug lord in Bangladesh. Of course, this is all set up in a pretty speedy manner to escalate the titular objective, Extraction. Well, it was about 20 minutes in during the film's first fight scene, specifically this moment, when Thor foot shoves a table into a dude's face, that I knew I had made a good choice. And then this happened. And then this. Yes, I had made a very good choice indeed. I was instantly reminded of the Raid and John Wick films, two recent series that have raised the bar on the action genre. As with those films, the director of Extraction, Sam Hargrave, is uniquely qualified for this breed of filmmaking. Before taking the reins for his feature-length directorial debut, a $65 million film for Netflix, Hargrave wore many hats in the industry, including a stunts resume as long as your arm, and a second unit director on some of the biggest movies ever made. In fact, remember that fight between Captain America in Avengers Endgame? Yeah, Hargrave directed that. What's more, he designed the fight and played one of the stunt doubles for the scene. The other stunt double? That would be his brother, Daniel Hargrave. Extraction was something of an Avengers reunion, with Hargrave directing Hemsworth in a script by Endgame co-director Joe Russo. But unlike the MCU, this one is not for the whole family. Rake. Get it? Okay, moving on. Little did I know, the film was soon going to top all of this with a bravura action set piece in the guise of a spectacular single shot. In this video, I'm going to examine this one-shot sequence. First, the sheer size and scope of it, and then take a closer look at the unique way it handles perspective. Obviously, there's going to be some moderate spoilers for Extraction. If you haven't seen the film yet, I recommend watching it for yourself, if only to see this particular sequence in its entirety and with full context. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the concept of the one-shot. We need only look back to this year's Best Picture Oscar contender and deserving cinematography winner, 1917, for an example of a one-shot film, a movie that was filmed in one continuous shot, or at least cleverly stitched together to resemble one in the case of 1917. It's something ambitious filmmakers have been trying their hand at since it was popularized by Alfred Hitchcock's Rope in 1948. It's not every day we see a one-shot film, but far more often we will see a one-shot sequence, a one-er or a long take within a film. Such is the case in Extraction, and like 1917, the sequence is manufactured with hidden edits, about 36 of them, to appear as a continuous flow of action. Now, I'm not really interested in trying to find all the seams that stitch this one shot together. Every swish pan or close encounter is a clear culprit. Instead, I find it more worthwhile to analyze the sequence as a whole, the dance between cinematography and choreography, and the effect it has on the viewer, regardless of whether or not they are keenly aware of what exactly is happening. So let's start with where the one shot starts. After his getaway boat is compromised, Rake has to improvise a new escape route with the rescued hostage in tow, Avi, played by Rudraksh Jaiswal. But it's not just the Bangladeshi police on his tail. Saju, played by Randeep Hooda, works for Avi's father and is attempting to rescue the boy himself lest his own family suffer the consequences. The one-shot sequence runs from about the 34-minute and 50 seconds mark to 46 minutes and 20 seconds, just under 12 minutes, which is an incredibly long time to track real-time action and maintain the momentum that comes with that charge. The sequence starts as they are retreating from the forest, making a run for Rake's car with Saju hot on their heels. Now, as an admirer and enthusiast of the one-shot, it's something of a hobby of mine to spot these things early on so I can gauge the trajectory, duration, and overall accomplishment. It's not always immediately clear that it's happening, but it probably goes without saying that the longer a shot is sustained, the more obvious it becomes. Still, you can often pick up on these things when it's signaled by something like this. A 180-degree camera turn, and back again. Something that alerts you to the fact that the camera is still rolling and becoming an almost active spectator when traditionally this would be handled in a series of shots. In short, something like this catches your eye, even if the term one shot means nothing to you. When they grab your attention, and they demand it to a certain extent, part of the fun is seeing just how long they last.
That's what she said!
So when the camera starts barreling down the dusty back streets of the city, following Rake's car at a breakneck pace, it's hard not to sit up in your seat, lean forward, and almost hold your breath as it unfolds in front of you. The more elaborate, the more impressive. And this one, it's pretty damn elaborate. I mean, it covers a lot of ground, and I'm not just talking about the terrain itself, but in general, how much action and different types of action they throw in here. It starts on foot with a brief firefight before putting the pedal to the metal for a full-blown car chase. When this inevitably ends in a crash, it then morphs into a claustrophobic game of hide-and-seek in an apartment complex with one deadly interaction after another. We go from the ground floor to the rooftop, to another rooftop, and then back down again. When Rake and Abi are finally tracked down by Saju, it erupts in a brutal one-on-one struggle that falls perilously to the street below, where it becomes even more barbaric with a knife fight, interrupted by not one, but two instances of our characters getting plowed down by vehicles. Not content to end it there, it ends where it begins, with another car chase, culminating with Rake and Abi leaping from a truck before sending it to its fiery end. It's insane, it's completely over the top, and it's exactly the type of thing I want to see in a movie like this. Despite transpiring in 11 minutes and change, this sequence was actually shot over 10 days in Ahmedabad, India, entirely on location. There are no sets here, just real-world streets and buildings. What's more, director Sam Hargrave coordinated with the film's cinematographer Tom Siegel to be the camera operator on these shots, a decision he made for safety reasons and ultimately so he couldn't blame anybody else if they didn't get the shot. When you have a director with a history as a stunt coordinator and fight choreographer, you have someone willing to take big risks themselves, like being strapped to the hood of a car to get precisely what he wants to capture. The amount of prep work, location and tech scouting, stunt work, stunt driving, continuity on set and in the editing bay, the legion of visual effects artists, to say nothing of the actors required to train and perform in their own fight scenes, it's all a testament to the fact that filmmaking is among the largest of group efforts. A visionary director needs an imaginative and talented casting crew, and it's important to maintain that perspective. Speaking of which, my favorite aspect of this one-shot is the way it handles perspective, that is to say, the character the camera is focused on. There's about a dozen perspective shifts throughout this one-shot, propelled by a camera that's always on the move, to the point that it practically becomes its own character, chasing whatever seems interesting and highlighting whatever it deems important. You've no doubt heard the term fly on the wall when describing observational documentaries. Well, this is like a fly who just snorted a line of coke. When chasing after the hero's car isn't enough, the camera flies into the back seat for a more intimate experience. And notice here how it looks through the rear windshield, just long enough to let us know that Saju is joining the chase in a police cruiser. It might appear haphazardly photographed, but that's a stylistic choice. It's actually been carefully orchestrated to give us all the visual information we need. Soon after in the chase, we move right through the rear windshield because why the hell not, to follow Saju's path of destruction. Before returning to Rake's car. After Rake reverse rams his car into Saju's, he and Abi disappear from the film for nearly 2 minutes. The camera quickly checks in with Saju to let us know he survived the crash, and then follows the police as they raid the apartment complex. Perspective shifts happen all the time in film, but it's so striking here precisely because of the one-shot approach. Our main characters, who we've been following up to this point, are now nowhere to be seen. Instead, we're shadowing a nameless officer as he searches the building for the protagonist. This creates a different type of tension. In these hide-and-seek scenarios, we typically know where the protagonist is hidden, and we hold our breath with them as we hope against hope that the bad guys don't find them. In this case, we're left wondering where our hero might be hiding, and maybe even hoping he'll get the drop on his pursuers. Yeah, like that. When Rake is overwhelmed contending with the corrupt police, the perspective shifts yet again, this time solely on Abi, who then has to briefly fend for himself. When he manages to slip away, it seems we'll follow the police again. But that option quickly expires. Having already established multiple perspective shifts, Extraction is playing with the formula. The camera's devotion to the action is highlighted when it jumps off a balcony after Rake and Saju, but it still takes time to keep tabs on Abi. It waits for the combatants to get up and finish their fight. It jerks with each slash, dodges oncoming traffic with the characters, keeps tabs on dropped weapons and dropped men. It's everywhere it needs to be, precisely when it needs to be there. That it all looks so organic when in reality it's highly orchestrated is the most impressive thing about it. True to its name, Extraction is about the journey, not the destination. And for my money, or I guess in this case my Netflix subscription, this one-shot is easily the best leg of that journey, pushing the objectives forward while thrilling the audience every step of the way. It's the highlight of the exceptional action spread throughout the film, which otherwise is not without its cliched and predictable moments. Still, this elevates it above the generic competition, and there's no doubt it's the result of an equipped director working with a willing cast and capable crew to pull it all off. In short, I can't wait to see what Sam Hargrave and his team attempt next, but it won't be easy topping this. Have you seen Extraction? If so, what did you think of this one-shot action scene? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you down there.
That's what she said. Or he said.
If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Cineflect for more video essays, ranked lists, and other cinematic experiments. And click that bell next to the subscribe button if you'd like to be notified anytime I upload a new video. For Cineflect, I'm JS Lewis. Until next time, watch something good.